guys, I'm back. I'm back. Me and the judge is back, but where'd everybody else? I tell you, man, can't get no good help. Do the dash. Any boonback behavior? Part 2 done after 3. Huh? I don't understand this person's message.
Oh my Lord.
Hey Judith, hey Tanya, hello Ash. Part 2 of August 31st. Yeah, it's part 2 of August 31st. You have your so hey Penelope. Anyone know the name of R. Kelly's song that seems like the melody that begins all people around the world? What song is that? All the people around the world.
All the people.
That's the one with the horse. The horse. Spirit. No.
Is it Spirit?
No, not Spirit. Not Spirit. It's the other one. It's a Freedom one. What's the name of the song is?
So let me pull up my list, honey, because I'm like, oh my gosh. Let's see. R. Kelly. Come on. Why the system got to move slow when you're trying to do something?
You can assist. Okay, Tanya, come on in.
Come on down.
Here's the link, and then send me your
Robert, I didn't tell you start singing.
Don't play it. Don't mute.
No, that's why. Look. I went on there and I was like, I didn't tell you to start singing, Robert. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Let's see. Boy got too much doggone music all over the place. Let me see. This is all his new stuff. Let me see. Where is that? Is it? It ain't Healing. It ain't I Believe. It ain't.
I hear the whole song in my head right now, y'all. Y'all know I'm not good at these songs.
Can you feel it? No, can you feel it? Peace, victory.
Peace. That's what it is. Peace.
Oh, okay.
That's
Peace.
What it is. Hey Tanya, email me so I can send you the transcript. Okay, you got it.
Hi, Miss Sylvia. What is your email address again?
Sparks1565@gmail.com. SPARKS.
Hold on 1 second.
@gmail.com.
Wait 1 second, because
I'm trying to stop saying.
Okay, so
Nikki, you got it too. You already got it because I can send it to you the same time I send it to her.
Yeah, what page?
Okay, so
2115. 2115.
Peace. That's the name of the song. Peace. That's what it is.
He just tried to break out singing. You know you can't get Miss Sylvia in trouble.
One more time, Miss Sylvia, on the email address.
Sparks, SPARKS, 1565@gmail.com.
Okay.
Hey, Randa, it's not the right one. Randa, you gave me the same one, young lady.
All right, Sylvia, who am I today?
You are you. What is the number again? I'm gonna stop being silly today. I'm gonna stop being silly. Peace all around the world. Okay, let's see. Who is typing like that?
Me? I'm finishing up my last chat for the day. Let me put it on mute.
Yeah, please. You know, me and my noise. I don't like noise. I'm like an old lady. What's that noise? What's that noise, people? Nikki, you got the transcript, right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have to say anything. Tanya, I just sent it to you. Hey, Rand, you sent me the same thing twice. I only have a short clip from Naster Days. Better can research the lyrics on Google.
Okay, I have it, Miss Sylvia. I'm just waiting for it to pop up. And if you
Okay.
can tell me what page and who I'm going to be.
Okay, let's see. What page are we on again, Rhoda?
2115.
2150.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
2115.
Thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody in the chat. Let me speak.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, chat. How are you guys doing today? Okay, here's how it's gonna roll. Okay. Wednesday, I will be in New York, but there was also going to be a hearing, right? And I am going to do a special Zoom for those people who wants to listen in with me. I'm going to do a special Zoom to listen into the hearing in Chi-Town. So, and I'm going to do it for those who's been a blessing for me. All those who's been blessing me, not just financially, but supporting me, showing up on the channel, doing all kinds of wonderful things, modding for me, you know, all this. I just want to repay y'all. I ain't got no money, but I can repay y'all. All the people who've read for me. If you send me some feedbacks, okay, there go Missy with her noise in the background. You send me some feedbacks. If you send me anything, those are the people I'm going to welcome into the private Zoom to listen to the call, because I will be in New York. Okay, all you wonderful people who's been so wonderful to me, you will be in that chat, and it's going to be. I gotta tell you at a time. The hearing is. Let me go tell y'all. Hold on. Shannon, I'm not going to forget you. Joyce, and of course, you're not going to be forgotten. And Rena, you know you in there, young lady. You're in there. All those who's been really, really good to me. You digging me, of course. All you guys. Because I think it only holds up to, no, it does. I pay the monthly payment on that now. So, thank you for the love, Tis. So, it's going to be a private Zoom, and there's no recording. As you guys know, you're just going to be sitting on the call with me, and we're going to listen. We're going to listen together. So I will bring y'all in, but let me look at the time it's supposed to be bring. Shay, of course you in. Come on now, stop. Some people don't even need to ask. You already know you're in. You just got to send me the email, and I just got to send y'all a blind copy of the Zoom link for us to listen to on Wednesday the 22nd. Some people don't even have to ask. You already know where you stand with me. So don't even fret, because you're in there. Hold on. You go in. Okay, what is case number 19 dash CR dash 0657. I think that's the number right there. I think that's it. Yep, I know the case by heart, y'all. I know the case by heart. All right, let's see. Let's see what's the date on that one. Okay. Okay. The hearing is going to be the 22nd of September, and the time is at 9 a.m. Central Time. So that's 10 a.m. Eastern Time. 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That means, Wednesday is no court anyway, so that'll be our court, okay? So that's when those who are going to be on the call with me, it's at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just email me and I will send you the link and we'll be together. All right. And you know who y'all are. Who you guys are.
Can I come in on it too, Miss Sylvia?
I said those who do stuff for me.
Oh.
Don't you read all the time?
Yeah.
Okay, don't look. You already know.
Okay.
You already know.
What page are we on?
My last text of the day. I'm done. Yes.
So what's should we start a new live? Because this live is like we talking too much, aren't we?
Oh, they can hear what we talking about. Oh.
No, I'm saying because we're talking, because people are going to be like, okay, why is she talking and she's supposed to be reading?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, guys. I'm going to end this live because this live, it did not go well. I'm going to change the name and we're going to start over. We're going to start over.
Are you going to send me a new link?
You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna tailor this one. I don't feel like doing all this. I'll just trim it and start from where we start our reading. That's what I'll do. I don't feel like doing this extra stuff. I'm lazy. They go travel the world to my why didn't I wait for her? I'm telling you, me and travel the world, man. I'll tell you that girl and I are gonna fight. She knows she's at work, y'all, right? She wants me to wait to 8:30 to start.
Oh, Lord.
Exactly. Exactly. She wants me to wait to 8:30. Her time, my time, is 8:30. She wants me to wait.
We'll be through reading by the end.
Thank you. Look, she's talking about I'm at work. You're supposed to be working, not on this chat, messing with me. Joyce Lynn said, oh, wow. But okay, y'all, let's get prepared. So I want to have the link ready. So anybody who wants to be on the call with me on Wednesday, send me an email and I will add you. I'll check you out first. If you don't get an email from me back, that means you ain't coming. But please tell me, I'm just okay. Please tell me your name on YouTube so I'll know who you are. Okay? Joyce Lynn said no travel next time. Oh God. So okay, so anybody that wants to come in on Wednesday, email me. Please put your email address. And remember, this is a non-recording type of Zoom. We're doing it Zoom because we cannot live stream it. Because it's the government, it's the government thing. We're just gonna be listening. You're gonna be listening with me, okay? She's sticking her tongue out at us, y'all. Okay, do we have enough people? What's the roles gonna be, Judge? Nikki,
Caller.
how many people? How many people do we need?
Can you hear me?
I didn't hear you. What happened?
Okay.
Hey, Sylvia.
Got the court. Let's see.
Tell Ready Red, please. Huh?
Faith, Christopher Davis. I think we through with Suzette, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's showing Christopher Davis, Faith, and of course the prosecutors and yeah.
So we got the prosecutor. We have Henny Hen is going to be one of the prosecutor. We have Nakia, can you be Canic?
Sure.
And Tanya, you're gonna be Faith. And who's gonna be Davies? Chris Davies. We need a Chris Davies. Where's the guy? Why the guys don't come and read no more? What's going on? What's up with the guys?
So which one is Faith? Is she Miss Shatia?
No, Faith is the witness. Faith
Okay.
Rogers.
Okay.
Yeah.
We hadn't got.
Miss Geddes is gonna be Geddes. You know, you always play the prosecutor, so you're gonna either be Shahata, Cruz, or Geddes. Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me what page we're on?
2115. 2115.
2115.
Okay, so I am Miss Faith.
Okay, we need a male. Any male wants to volunteer? I'm tired of listening to the ladies trying to be men. Yeah, you guys suck. You guys suck, really. And no male better ask me to get into the call. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. No male better ask me to get into the call. Not even Dom. Because y'all been standing me up. Yeah, and I have not been a team player, and I don't like that. Hold on a second.
I can try male and just deepen my voice. I can try it. If someone else wants to play the prosecutor.
Nakia, you want to be the prosecutor? Who are you right now, Nakia?
You said can it?
Mechanic. You could be both. You could be mechanic and you just change your voice, okay?
So I'm gonna be Shahada and Kanik.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vindicative. I can't be anybody because if I try, okay, all right, I'll be somebody. I won't see the transcript. How about that? Okay, I'll be the guy. Since Vindictive wants to be funny.
So who am I gonna be?
Yeah, go ahead, unbe it. I'm not listening to that person. I'm not listening.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, she said she gonna go to the restroom and read. She gonna get in trouble. We ain't trying to get you in trouble at work. Hold on a second. She's a trooper, I tell you what. Hold on a second. I'm trying to open it up, y'all. Why is that girl talking so loud? That girl y'all can hear her, right? She talking so loud.
But can we get started, Sylvia?
It says Zoom meeting. Hold on a second, y'all. Hold on. I just got a text. Hold on. Just bear with me a second. I just got a text. That girl got a big mouth.
Nakia, I can be Shahada until
Yeah, I was getting ready to say I can be Shahada as well. If you guys want me to be her, however you want to do it.
okay, because I was gonna say I could be Shahada, and then when you take over as Kanik, then I'll be the witness, and you could be the witness, and I'll be Shahada. Does that make sense?
Let Mr. 414 come on in. 444, come on in and be a male on there. Come on. 444, come on. There go two guys in the chat right now. 444 or 444, come on. You don't have a choice. Come on in.
So that it's not confusing, I guess I can be Shahada because Faith is not like until a few pages down, but it's totally up to you guys.
She could play her Shahada because she usually she sounds like a prosecutor.
Okay, that'll work.
You know. No, I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry, Henny, but your voice sound like one of those mean people.
That's why I make a good prosecutor. No.
Exactly. She sounds so. Y'all hear her voice? Her voice sounds so like like a voice that you don't like. I'm sorry, not that I don't like you, but it's just one of those voices. Like,
All right, so I'm just Canic.
yes, ma'am.
All right, how far is Canic down the line?
Are we ready?
Hold on. I'm trying to send sir his email. What's your email? Text me right now because I'm trying to find your email. Dude. This girl talks so loud. That's Dallas, y'all. She running her mouth. She is so loud. Shh. Shh. All right, guys, we gotta do what we can do. All right, because somebody's not gonna cooperate and come in. So let's be who we can be. You ladies are holding it down. Can you do the transcript and court? Who is?
Come on, we can just get started, y'all. Cause I don't want my battery to go dead. Just start reading.
Yeah.
1 second.
I mean, whoever.
1 second.
We're all G's. We can handle it.
Now I'm trying to get the thing up. Just 1 second. All right, I have it up. All right. Thank you for being on the Infamous Sylvie show. We're doing the reenactment of court for August 31st, part 2. Thank you, guys. Let's get started. What page are we on?
2115.
2115.
My phone mute.
Can you guys turn down your phones and cut the background noise if you don't mind? All right, let's get started.
Okay. Anything before we bring the jury in?
Christopher. Okay. So that's Miss Christopher Davis.
Any issues to raise?
Sorry, no.
What about from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Let's get the jury.
You may be seated.
The court is call your next witness.
Call your next witness.
Okay. The government calls Christopher Davies.
Please raise your right hand. Witness sworn. I do. You may be seated.
You can take your mask off. A couple of things before we start. Make sure that you don't speak too quickly. Our court report is taking down everything that you say. And it's harder when you're a fast talker. Also, just wait until whichever lawyer is asking you questions to finish before you start talking, so it's not so hard for the court reporter. If there's a question that you don't understand or want to be repeated, let me know, and I'll have the lawyer to do that. Do your best to answer only the questions being asked, okay? Go ahead.
Your Honor, before I begin inquiring, I'd like to put a stipulation into the record and display it as well.
Sure.
This is Government Exhibit 1002. It is hereby stipulated and agreed by and between the undersigned parties that Government Exhibit 231 is an envelope addressed to Lydia C. Hills, Esquire, at the law office of Lydia C. Hills, PC 300 Cadman Plaza West, 12th floor, Brooklyn, New York, 11201. Sent by the United States Postal Service, USPS, certified mail with tracking number 70180680000133042470. Government's Exhibit 920 consists of USPS records for the certified mailing tracking number 7010680000133042470, which indicates the certified mailing was delivered to 300 Cadman Plaza West, Brooklyn, New York, 11201 on November 26, 2018 at 1:18 p.m. by being left with an individual who electronically signed for the mailing. If called as a witness at trial, Nicole Harris would testify as following. On November 26, 2018, Ms. Harris was employed by Regus, a company that rents office spaces to others. And on November 26 of 2018, Ms. Harris worked for Regus at a building located at 300 Cadman Plaza West, Brooklyn, New York, 11201, and was stationed at the reception desk in the lobby of the building. The law office of Lydia S. Hills, PC, was a tenant of the building. Among Ms. Harris' duties while she worked at the building was signing for mailings and packaging mail to tenants in the building that required a signature, and thereafter ensuring that their delivery to the intended recipient. The electronic signature contained in Government Exhibit 920 for the mailing with USPS tracking number 70180680000133042470 is Ms. Harris' signature, as was Ms. Harris' regular practice following her receipt and signature for the mailing with USPS tracking number 70180680000133042470. Ms. Harris caused the mailing to be provided to Ms. Lydia C. Hills. Ms. Harris did not open or alter the mailing with the USPS tracking number of 7010680000133042470 after receiving it. This stipulation is admissible at trial, signed by lawyers for both parties.
Okay.
So it's Christopher Davies. I don't know. Oh, is that me? Oh, is that me? No, it just says okay.
Christopher
I think that's I think that's still the court. I guess.
Okay.
Christopher Davies, called as a witness, having been first duly sworn and affirmed, was examined and testified as follows.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where do you work?
The Department of Homeland Security Investigations out of New York.
Is Homeland Security Investigation also known as HSI?
That is correct.
So what is your title at HSI?
Special agent.
How long have you worked as a special agent at HSI?
Approximately 14 years.
What is your current assignment at HSI?
A firearms coordinator.
About how long have you been doing that?
Approximately 2 years now.
Prior to your assignment as a firearms coordinator, what, if any, squad did you work on prior to that?
Prior to that, I worked in trafficking and persons unit for approximately 12 years.
Was that in the New York office?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to January 2019. Were you working in the trafficking in person unit at the time?
I was, yes.
Were you assigned at the time to work on the investigation of Robert Kelly?
Yes, I was.
Directing my attention to February 14th of 2019, did you collect certain evidence from an individual that day?
Yes, I did.
Showing the witness what is marked for identification as Government Exhibit 231 and witness only, please. Do you see that on your screen?
Yes, I do.
I'm also showing you Government Exhibit 231A. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Prior to your testimony here today, did you have any opportunity to review the government's Exhibit 231 and 231A?
Yes, I did.
And do you recognize the items?
Yes, I do.
What are these items?
These are the documents that I took into my possession that day.
On February 14th of 2019?
That's correct, yes.
So what did you collect? Who did you collect these items from? I'm sorry.
Individuals by the name of Lydia Agu.
Is Lydia Gu also known as Lydia Hills?
Yes, it is. Lydia Agu is her married name.
Where did you collect these items from, Lydia Hills?
An interview was conducted at the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York here in Brooklyn.
What did you do with these items after you received them?
We photographed them at the United States Attorney's Office, then we secured them in an evidence bag, then transported them to our office, our field office in New York.
Did you do that yourself?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I move to admit government's Exhibit 231 and 231A.
Any objection?
None.
Okay, that's in evidence.
Just showing you, starting with Government Exhibit 231. Do you see where it says certified mail?
Yes.
Is there a tracking number there?
There is below the barcode.
Could you read that out loud, please?
7018 0680 001 0001 3304 2470.
May I approach for a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I just handed you Government's Exhibit 231 and 231A. Looking at those documents, do you see some writing on the envelopes and various pages of the documents in green and some numbers?
Yes, I do. I see some numbers in green, also some dots, then some notes, it appears.
When you collected Government's Exhibit 231 and 231A from Lydia Hills, was that numbering in green on those documents?
No, it was not.
Is that numbering related to processing of the documents after receipt by HSI?
It would probably most likely be from NYPD, the New York City Police Department.
Mr. Koenig, I think.
I'm going to
Okay.
object.
I'm going to object if he doesn't know.
Do you know which one it is? And speak into the microphone.
Can I clarify the question? I'm asking, are those numbers related to processing that was done after you collected the documents and took them to HSI?
By me, no, it was not.
Are you aware if there was, at the time you collected the documents, were you aware of any further processing that would be done by others?
Yes, I was. The item were going to be sent over to New York City Police Department Forensics Laboratory.
You didn't put those marks on there, and they weren't on there when you got it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
No further questions.
Any cross-examination?
1 second, please. None.
Thank you so much. You can step down. Who is your next witness?
The next witness is Faith. That's me too, guys. So someone's going to have to take her spot.
Yeah, I'll be the
Prosecutor?
yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Court, please raise your right hand. Witness sworn. Witness.
I do. Sorry.
You may be seated.
Just a couple of things before we begin. Our court reporter takes down everything that you say. So it's important that you not speak too quickly or talk over whichever lawyer is asking you questions. And then if one of the lawyers asks you a question that you want to have clarified or that you don't understand, just let me know. I direct them to rephrase the question. Finally, just do your best to answer only the question that you're being asked. Okay?
Bro,
Okay.
All right.
Bro, something's
Go
going on
ahead.
with your phone.
Just tap it and make sure it works. It's important that you're speaking into the microphone. I don't have any other noise on.
It's like a feedback.
I don't have anything else on. Nothing.
Okay. So I guess the questions.
Witness is supposed to say okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Faith called as witness have been duly sworn, affirmed, was examined, and testifies as follows. I am showing you what is marked for identification as Government Exhibit 79 for the witness only. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Who is this in the photograph of?
Me.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 79.
No objection, but I'm having a difficult time hearing her.
I don't think she said anything yet. Can you tap it one more time? And make sure you're speaking right into it. Go ahead.
You said this is a photograph of you. Is that correct?
Correct.
If there is no objection, move to admit it.
Yes.
May we publish it?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification, Government's Exhibit 79A. Is this the same photograph I just showed you with your first and last name underneath?
Correct.
And the government moves to admit Government's Exhibit 79 to the jury only?
No objection.
That's in evidence. Jury only.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as Government's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who do you recognize that to be?
Robert Kelly.
Have you met Robert Kelly in person?
Yes.
Do you see Robert Kelly in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you point him out and identify him by an item of his clothing he's wearing?
The blue jacket.
Indicating the defendant.
When and where did you first meet the defendant?
I first met him in San Antonio, Texas at the Tobin Center.
What was going on at the Tobin Center that day?
He was performing.
Do you recall when it was we're at the Tobin Center?
Around March of 2017.
How old were you then?
I was 19.
To your knowledge, how old was the defendant when you met him?
50.
After meeting the defendant in March of 2017 in San Antonio, did you thereafter begin traveling to see the defendant after that?
Yes.
When you saw the defendant, were there occasions when the defendant engaged in sexual contact with you?
Yes.
Around when did you first travel to see the defendant?
Around May of 2017.
Around when was the last time you traveled to see the defendant?
Around February of 2018.
At any point during the time that you communicated and traveled to see the defendant, did he tell you he had herpes?
He did not.
At any point during your sexual interactions with the defendant, did he wear a condom?
No.
Did you ask him to wear a condom?
Yes.
Oh, did those sexual encounters include sexual intercourse?
Yes.
During the course of time that you saw and communicated with the defendant, what, if any, different sides of the defendant did you see?
I got to see a compassionate side of him, emotional side. He wasn't always bad. He wasn't always mean, very normal. Like sometimes I felt like I was conversing with somebody I went to school with my age.
What other sides did you see of him?
Well, I also saw him. There were times where he would flip, just extremely calm, then go to like being super sexual, hyper, just different phases, just depending on how he was feeling and what mood he was in.
Stepping back for a moment, how old are you?
I'm 24 years old,
Where did you grow up?
San Antonio, Texas.
How far did you go in school?
I finished high school and I have some college experience, well, education,
How long were you enrolled in college?
about a year.
Why did you leave college?
I just decided school wasn't for me.
Do you have any siblings?
I do.
How many siblings?
6.
Are they all? Are some of those half siblings?
Yes, I have 5 half siblings and 1 full-blooded little sister.
What do your parents do?
My mom owns a daycare center and my dad is a supervisor for the school district as well as a pastor.
Directing your attention to March 2017, how old were you again at that time?
19 years old.
You testified that in March of 2017, you attended a concert. Is that correct?
Correct.
Whose concert did you attend?
R. Kelly.
Again, where did the concert take place?
San Antonio, Texas at the Tobin Center.
Showing the witness only Government's Exhibit 508. Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is it?
The Tobin Center.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 508.
No objection.
It's in. You can publish it.
Is the Tobin Center a theater venue?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, did you attend the R. Kelly concert at the Tobin Center with?
I went with my older sister.
Approximately how old was your older sister at the time?
She was around 36 years old.
Was this your half sister?
Yes.
How did you end up attending the R. Kelly concert with the older sister?
She called me one day and she just said that she had tickets. He was in town. She had no one to go with, and if I wanted to go with her.
Did you agree to go?
I did.
Were you an R. Kelly fan at the time?
I was not.
How about your sister? Was
She,
she a fan?
she was.
Where did you sit for the concert at the venue?
We were seated in some seats like far away from the stage. Then once we got there, I decided we should move closer because we couldn't see, so we moved closer.
Where did you end up sitting when you moved closer?
We were like in the middle section, not too close from the stage, but we weren't that far.
Did you stay for the whole concert?
We did.
Did you enjoy the concert?
We did.
What, if anything, happened at the end of the concert?
Well, toward the end of the concert, 2 young ladies approached me and my sister with wristbands in their hands, and they let me know that he was having an after party backstage. Just bring me and my sisters, no one else, and to make sure to show them the wristbands the wristbands.
When you say he was having an after party, who is the he?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, were the 2 individuals that approached you wearing?
They had on shirts with his face on it, and on the back it said staff.
Again, his face being the defendant.
R. Kelly's correct.
What, if anything, did they give you?
They gave us a wristband.
What, if anything, did you do after getting a wristband from the individual?
Well, after we got the wristbands, the concert was about to be over, so I wanted to go get my car out of valet, and my sister, she went ahead and went backstage.
Why did you go get your car out of valet?
Because valet was closing.
About how long did it take you to get your car out of the valet?
About an hour.
Where did you go after about an hour?
After I returned back to the front door of the venue, I showed them my wristband and they showed me backstage.
Where were you taken backstage?
So we were taken back to like a dressing room part and a really big dressing room.
Did you go inside?
We did.
What was the atmosphere in the dressing room when you got there?
When we got there, it was mainly all women. There were a few men in the room. The men that were in the room, they were his staff. They had on staff shirts with his face on it as well. And I would say probably like 30 women in there. Some of them I saw from the concert because they were sitting on the stage on the couch, and some I'd never seen before.
Was your sister there?
Correct.
Was music playing?
There was music playing.
Was there any alcohol being served?
Yes, Ciroc was being served.
Anyone check your ID before you were in the dressing room?
No.
When you first got to the dressing room, was the defendant there?
No, he was not.
At some point while you were in the dressing room, did the defendant show up?
He did.
What happened at that point?
Well, when he came in, he kind of just stood there at first, and everybody, all the women in the room got excited. They all ran up to him. They all had their phones out ready to record. Right away, he said, "No phones." Everybody put the phones away. And after that, they all just formed a line to give him a hug.
Did you get in the line?
I did not.
How about your sister? Did she get in the line?
She did.
What, if anything, did you do while your sister was in the line to meet the defendant?
After my sister was in the line, I was waiting for her to come back, holding her spot for her.
Did your sister end up meeting the defendant?
She did.
What, if anything, did you and your sister do after she stood in the line and met the defendant?
Well, after she stood in line, we continued to be off to ourselves. We were singing and dancing to the music, and he came towards me.
When you say he, who are you to?
R. Kelly.
And what happened next?
He came towards me and my sister where we were sitting, and there was a chair behind me. He sat behind the chair. I stopped dancing when he sat in the chair. He said, "You don't have to stop now."
How, if at all, did you respond?
I kind of looked at him. I laughed it off. Right away, he smiled back and quick hi. And shortly after that, he handed me a piece of paper with his phone number.
Who handed you the piece of paper?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, did he say to you when he handed you the piece of paper?
He told me to grab his hand. And when I grabbed his hand, there was a piece of paper with his phone number on it. And he was like, "When I give you the paper, don't make a big deal about it or tell anybody I gave it to you." He told me to text him the numbers and a picture of myself so he knew it was me. I just nodded and said, "Okay."
At some point after you received the piece of paper from the defendant, did you look at it?
Yes, later that night.
What was on the piece of paper?
2 of his phone numbers.
You testified earlier that you ultimately saw the defendant after meeting the defendant at the concert. You ultimately saw him on various occasions until about February of 2018, correct?
Correct.
During the course of time, did the defendant provide you with additional phone numbers for him in addition to the 2 of you got that evening at the concert?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 206A. This is a 2-page document. I'm going to show you the first page, then the second page. Do you recognize these pages?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what are they?
His phone number's on my cell phone.
Are these photographs of the defendant's phone numbers in your cell phone?
Correct.
I move to admit Government Exhibit 206A.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish it?
Yes.
Looking first at the first 206.
Okay. Your phone is really bad.
Mine?
Yeah, because a lot of people saying it's choppy and it says sound. Yeah, it's not good at all.
Okay.
Do you have a lot of things open in the background?
No.
I wonder what's making
Is it my
choppy.
phone? It's
No,
on
no,
my-
it's hers.
Okay.
I think it's together. It's something like close all your apps behind it and just leave that one open.
Okay. Give me just a minute.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Thank you guys for your patience. Oh, she's gone for a minute. It did sound like Daffy Duck, but I still hear it.
Do you hear when I speak?
Mute yours for a minute. Let me see. Hello, 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 hello. I don't hear now. So it might be yours. Do you have other things open up in the back of yours?
I don't, but I can.
You don't have any other app open?
No, I.
Is it okay now?
Is that better?
Much better. But we found out it might have been Tanya's thing.
Okay.
Much better.
Go ahead.
Tanya, you okay now? Tanya. Sorry for the technical difficulty, everybody. Thank you, Latrice. Latrice, did you ever get your t-shirt? I know you were one of the winners. You and a couple of other people. She's coming back in a minute, y'all. This is intermission right now. It was perfect a few minutes ago. I would sing for y'all, but I don't want y'all to cry.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Much better. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, now I still hear it.
Is it coming from my end?
I think so.
Okay. So
Now it stopped. Oh,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. It just went other people with you.
Oh, okay. So maybe if I put my AirPods in, do you think it'll make a difference?
It might. Let's try it.
Let's try it. Hello.
Much better. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
How am I? Because I did the same thing. I put my AirPods in.
Okay. So, where are we?
Looking first at the first 206A, are there 4 numbers saved here?
Yes.
And what is it saved under?
Don't reply ×3.
Did you always have the defendant's number saved in your phone under don't reply ×3?
No.
What did you previously have the number saved under in your phone?
Daddy?
I'm showing the second page of Government's Exhibit 206A. Is there one number here under the name don't reply?
Yes.
Whose phone number is that?
R. Kelly?
When you initially saved this phone number in your phone, did you have it under don't reply?
No.
Do you recall what you had saved under?
Daddy.
Going back to when the defendant handed you a piece of paper in that dressing room with his phone number on it, what, if anything, happened after the defendant handed you that piece of paper?
After he handed me the piece of paper, he had invited me and my sister back to his room for food. My sister wanted a picture as well, so we ended up going to his dressing room.
When you say we ended up going to his dressing room, who are you referring to?
My sister and I.
Who took you? Withdrawn. Was that a separate dressing room then where you had been with the other people initially backstage?
Yes, it was his personal dressing room we were going to.
Who took you there?
R. Kelly and his staff took us.
Once you got to that second dressing room, was anyone else there?
No,
I can hear it breaking up. Can you, Miss Sylvia?
Can I
Okay,
hear
what
what?
happened? It's like breaking up. Am I breaking up still?
You kind of choppy.
Am I?
You was, but you good now.
It seems like when me and her, like if I pause it, then it sounds good. I mean, like mute it, then it sounds good, but it's hard to keep muting and
I just
I don't
tried
know.
the best, whatever way works.
Okay. All right. Who took you there? Once you got to that second dressing room, who was anyone else there? You answered. Okay, what happened once you got to the second dressing room?
when we got to the dressing room, it was just him, me, and my sister. And we were sitting down. And the first thing he did was ask me if I sing, if I model, or if I acted, if I danced, anything I was into. I let him know at the time, no, just school. That's it. He had said, if asked if we were sisters, we said yes. He asked who was older, things like that. He asked if she sung or she did anything. She told him she sung. The conversation, it wasn't that long. He was informing us about some new stuff he was working on, showing us pictures of Rihanna wearing his t-shirt with his face on it. I guess just giving me updates on what was going on at the time. He played some new tracks from his phone. We got to hear some new music. It was a friendly conversation.
You said you were telling him you were in school, correct?
Yes,
Were you in school at the time?
yes.
What were you studying at the time?
Generally studying. I was enrolled in UTSA.
Did he ask you questions about your schooling?
No. Hello?
While you were in the second dressing room, did you take any photos?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury about that?
We ended up taking photos with him, with my sister, R. Kelly, and I at the end of the night.
I'm showing you what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 209. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
What do you recognize this photo to be?
Me, R. Kelly, and my sister.
And is that in the second dressing room you've testified about that you went to with the defendant, you and your sister?
Yes.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 209.
No objection.
Okay, that in evidence. You can publish.
Thank you. Now, while you were in the dressing room, in the second dressing room with the defendant and your sister that evening, what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about keeping in touch?
He just reminded me to send him some pictures of myself and my name so he wouldn't forget.
Now, at some point, did you leave the Tobin Center?
Yes.
And where did you go after you left?
I dropped my sister off and then I went home.
And who, if anyone, were you living with at the time?
My parents.
And was there anyone else living in the household other than your parents?
My younger sister.
And how old was she at the time?
She was around 14.
Now, you said you drove your older sister to her house. Is that right?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you tell your older sister about your interaction with the defendant that evening?
When we got in the car, I told her that he had gave me his phone number, and right away she was super excited. She was like, out of all girls in there, like he looked at you, she told me like I should feel special. She was really more excited than I was.
And again, she was an R. Kelly fan. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you recall around what time you got home that night?
I got home around like 1:45, 2 a.m. almost.
So early morning hours after the concert.
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do when you got home?
I had texted him my name and a picture, a selfie of myself.
And when you say him, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
And what kind of, you said you text him a selfie?
Yes.
What kind of selfie did you text him?
It was a picture of me smiling, a smiling picture.
Of your face?
It was like full body. You could see my outfit, my face, everything.
Okay. And is that a picture that you already had or one that you took for that purpose?
No, it was a picture I already had.
What kind of phone did you have at the time?
An iPhone.
An Apple iPhone?
Yes.
All right. At some point after you sent the selfie with your name to the defendant, at some point, did you get a response from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And when did you first notice the response?
When I had woke up,
And what do you remember about that?
he was very friendly. He said he remembered me and said that I was pretty, complimented me, and he had invited me to come where he was at in San Antonio.
And do you remember anything about where he invited you in San Antonio?
He said he was going to be going to a studio in San Antonio.
And did you take him up on that invitation?
No.
Now, following those initial texts, was that by text message, by the way?
Yes.
And following those initial text messages, you exchanged with the defendant, what, if any, types of communications did you have with the defendant after that?
Well, after that, we continued with texting. Then it moved to phone calls. And then shortly after phone calls, we started FaceTiming.
And the text messages, did that include iMessages?
Yes.
Now you mentioned phone calls and FaceTime. Is that right?
Yes.
What is FaceTime?
FaceTime is video chatting.
Now, do you recall the substance of any of those initial communications that you had with the defendant in the days after the concert?
Well, the first initial conversation were very warm. He was very, he seemed really down to earth. Like That's what surprised me. He seemed really down to earth. He was just telling me about himself, saying how he likes to spend his time, enjoying his time. In the beginning, he did ask a few questions about me, what I like to do, what I was into, if I had a boyfriend, things like that. Just basic questions.
Now, did you end up seeing the defendant again at all in San Antonio?
I did not.
Now, in those initial communications you had with the defendant by phone, how, if at all, did the defendant refer to himself on the phone calls?
He refers to himself as daddy.
And about how soon after you had met him did he do that?
Right away, probably like the next day, but he was saying it through text. He wasn't hearing me call him himself that.
At some point, did the defendant say to you anything about what he wanted you to call him?
Yes, he said he would like to be referred to as daddy.
And initially, did you do that?
No.
And what happened when you didn't do that?
There was a time when I did not refer to him as daddy, and he had called me and said, "Hey baby." And I said, "Hey." He said, "Let's try this again," and he hung up the phone.
And then what happened?
And then when he called again, he said, "Hey baby." I said, "Hey daddy." He said, "Good girl."
And after that happened, did you call the defendant daddy?
I did.
Now, in those initial communications with the defendant by phone, did he compliment you?
Yes.
What kinds of things did he say to you?
I was beautiful. I was pretty. Things a girl wants to hear, of course.
And how did that make you feel?
Nice. It made me feel like I was pretty.
After the defendant left San Antonio, about how often were you communicating with him?
Well, after he left San Antonio, the communication, well, it was like I heard from him every other day. And then maybe like a week later, it started turning into every day. And then we moved to phone, FaceTime. And then when it became more consistent,
When, if at all, did the defendant tell you he loved you?
the first week,
After you had first met him?
yes,
And how many times had you met him in person at that point?
once.
How, if at all, did you respond?
Well, I said, really? I didn't say I love you back right away at all. Later on towards our relationship further in, I did, but not right away.
In your communication with the defendant, how, if at all, did the topic of your traveling to see him come up?
Well, he informed me that he was on tour right now, or excuse me, at the time he was on tour. So he was trying to say his schedule was kind of crazy, but whenever I wanted to come see him, I could. And he just said that we could arrange the days or just let him know when I wanted to come hang out. But that would be fun. I would get to see, how it is on tour, things like that.
And did he say anything to you about who you should contact to set that up?
Yes, he told me that his assistant Diane, she would give me her phone number, and I would just text her and let her know when I wanted to come, and she would make arrangements. She would arrange it for me.
And at some point, did you contact Diana?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall around when that was?
It was around April of 2017, I believe.
And why did you contact Diana?
I had spoke to R. Kelly about coming to a show, so I had messaged her.
And where in April, directing your attention to April 2017, where were you planning to travel to see the defendant?
I was supposed to be going to Chicago.
And you testified you contacted Diana, is that right?
Yes,
And did she make any arrangements for you?
she did.
And by the way, how did you contact Diana? In what manner?
We were texting.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 206B. Do you recognize this?
My screen is black.
Do you recognize this?
My screen is black.
Do you see anything on the screen now?
Yes,
Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 206B?
yes.
And what is that?
A photo of a screenshot of Diana's contact in my phone.
One moment. And so this is a screenshot of the number you had saved for Diana on your phone.
Correct.
Move to admit Government's Exhibit 206B.
No objection.
Okay, it's in evidence.
And if we could publish it to the jury only, please. And this number that begins with area code 248, was that the
Yes.
number you used to communicate with
Oh.
Diana?
Yes,
Now, did you end up traveling to see the defendant in April of 2017?
I did not.
And why not?
I was sent the wrong plane ticket.
And when you say you were sent the wrong plane ticket, what do you mean? And without referring to,
I was sent someone else's plane ticket.
how, if at all, did you react after? Sorry. Do you recall how you were sent the wrong plane itinerary or ticket?
Diana has sent me the wrong plane ticket.
Was that by email?
Through text. No, excuse me, through email.
And how, if at all, did you react after receiving the email with the itinerary or ticket in someone else's name?
I had informed Diana she sent me the wrong plane ticket. She said she would fix it, and I had to let Mr. Keller know that I had been sent someone else's plane ticket.
Were you upset about that?
A little, like, weirded out.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government 234B. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes,
And is this the email you received from Diana Copeland on April 20th, 2017?
yes,
And does the subject line indicate flight reservations for a date in April from ATL to MDW with of a female's name listed?
yes,
And is this the flight ticket or itinerary that you received that you just testified about receiving from Diana?
yes.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 234B and for the jury only.
No objection.
Okay, it's in evidence.
And may I publish it to the jury, please?
Yes.
And the name on that ticket that was sent to you by Diana, is that where I'm pointing my finger towards the end of the subject line?
The screen is black.
Sorry. Do you see where I'm pointing?
Yes,
Without saying the name, is that the name the ticket was sent to you?
yes,
Now, I think you testified when you received that ticket in another woman's name, you were weirded out. Is that right?
yes.
And how, if at all, did you express how you felt to the defendant after getting that email?
Well, I had spoken to Mr. Keller on the phone, and I was just in so many words. I let him know, like, I didn't really like that. I felt like that was kind of off if this was our first time meeting up, And right away he told me, he kind of like laughed at me that anybody he was around him, that they're his friends. Like, he was like, he always has friends around him, and that I shouldn't be upset about a friend. Basically, that this is who he is, a part of his lifestyle, and that a lot of people hanging around. There's a lot of people hanging around him, and they want to be in contact with him. And that if I wanted to be around him, I can't be insecure or worried about other things around him that don't have anything to do with me.
And did you continue to communicate with the defendant after that?
Yes.
When, if ever, did the topic of traveling to see the defendant come up again?
It came up again next month.
And where were you planning to travel to see the defendant at that time?
This time I was planning to go to New York.
And who brought up the topic of planning to see him again, to traveling to see him again?
He did.
And you testified you were planning to travel to New York, is that right?
Yes.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you about what was going on in New York at the time you were planning to be?
Well, he informed me that he was having a show in New York, and that he wanted to for me to come hang out, and it was going to be fun. So I said yes.
Now, after you and the defendant talked about traveling to the show in New York, who, if anyone, did you contact after that?
After we discussed the dates, I contacted Diana to arrange my travel.
And did Diana arrange for you to fly to New York to see the defendant?
Yes, she did.
And did you, in fact,
Yes,
travel to New York?
yes, I did.
And how did you communicate with Diana regarding that first trip to New York?
We were texting.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 208A, and this is the 3-page document. Can you see this document on your screen?
Yes.
And I'm starting with showing you the first page, second page, and the third page. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 208A?
Yes.
And generally speaking, what is contained within Government's Exhibit 208A?
Text messages between Diana and I.
And are those text messages specifically related to your trip to New York?
Yes.
And I move to admit Government's Exhibit 208A.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
Now, around when was it that you were traveling to New York to see the defendant?
May 18th.
Of what year?
It was 2017.
And how old were you then?
I was 19.
Have you ever been to New York before?
No.
Have you ever been on a plane before?
Once before.
Who, if anyone, paid for your flight to New York?
R. Kelly paid for my flight.
And did you have a direct or connected flight to New York?
It was a connecting flight.
And where did you connect through?
Nashville.
And who, if anyone, did you communicate with on your way to New York?
Diana and R. Kelly.
And why were you communicating with Diana while you were on your way?
He told me to let her know every time I stopped and when I landed. Let her know basically every time I stopped or get somewhere, so she can be aware.
When you say he, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
Now looking at Government's Exhibit 208A, the texts are these texts again with Diana?
Yes.
And the texts in green on the first page are those texts that you sent to Diana?
Yes.
And the first one, what does that say?
Just landed in Nashville.
And moving down to the second text in green, What is it that you wrote to Diana there?
I asked her, "Do you know the plans when I arrive?"
And where were you when you sent that text?
I was in Nashville.
On that layover?
Yes.
Prior to getting to New York, did you know precisely what the plan was?
No.
All right. And then there's another text in green. Is that from you to Diana again that says, my flight is about to land?
Yes.
And it says that was not delivered. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall where you were when you sent that?
I was on the plane.
All
No,
right.
see, landing on the plane. Yes. Sorry.
All right. Did you then at some point receive a response from Diana?
Yes.
And where did she tell you to go once you landed?
Hilton, Long Island.
And is that in this message here? Hilton, Long Island, Huntington, 598 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, 11747.
Yes.
And what else did she inform you of in that text message?
That a room was under my name at the hotel for 2 nights.
And was that the Hilton for 2 nights?
Yes.
Now, after you arrived at the airport, how did you get to the hotel?
Uber.
And what, if anything, happened when you got to your hotel?
Well, once I arrived at the hotel, there was an issue with the getting in the hotel room with whoever's name it was under.
And I'm showing you page 2 of Government's Exhibit 208A. What did you do after you had an issue checking in at the hotel?
I text Diana.
And again, on page 2 are the texts in green, the texts from you to Diana,
Yes.
and the texts in gray from Diana to you.
Yes.
And who did she tell you your room, the name your room was under?
Hers.
And what was her full name?
Diana Copeland.
Did you ultimately check into the room?
Yes.
And after you checked in, what, if anything, did you ask Diana?
I asked her if I needed to get ready for anything.
Again, at that point, did you know what the plan was once you arrived?
No, I just knew he had a concert.
And did Diana respond to you?
Yes.
And what did she let you know?
That there was not that they were not there yet and that the show starts at 8 o'clock.
And did she let you know where the venue for the show was?
Yes, she did.
And what was the venue for the show?
Theater at Westbury. It was 96 Bush Hollow Road in Westbury, New York.
And is that indicated here in the text message?
Correct.
Towards the middle of page 3. And it is 960 Bush Hollow Road
Correct.
in Westbury, New York.
Correct.
Did you ultimately go to the venue?
Yes.
And how did you get there?
Uber.
And who got you the Uber to go to the venue?
Diana.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 516. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
The theater at Westbury.
And is that the venue you went to that night to see the defendant show?
Yes.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 516.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish it?
Okay.
Now, where did you go once you got to the theater at Westbury?
Well, once I arrived, I went to the will call box to meet Diana.
And did you, in fact, meet Diana there?
Yes.
I'm showing you government's exhibit 36, which is in evidence. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who is it?
Diana Copeland.
And is that who you met at will call that day?
Yes. Yes.
And is that who you had been communicating with, making your arrangements to New York and while in New York?
Yes.
Now, once you met Diana at the will call area, what happened?
Well, once I met Diana at Will Call, she came to get me and she walked me backstage
Where did she take you?
to his dressing room,
Whose dressing room?
Kelly's dressing room.
And what happened when you got to the dressing room?
Well, when I got to the dressing room, I was just waiting for a little bit, not long.
And what happened next?
He came in after getting a haircut. He was like full of energy. He was like, stand up, turn around. He's like, you look so pretty. You look amazing. Compliment me. I said, thank you. There was like a brief pause, and he's like, give me a kiss. So I kind of like reached in for a peck, and when I picked back, he like jerked his head back at me, and he looked at me and he was like, you're not doing it right. And he grabbed my face and gave me a tongue kiss, like a really big tongue kiss, and it was just kind of awkward. It was like a slight pause, and he was like, I'm gonna have to teach you how to kiss.
And the he you are referring to there, is that the defendant?
Yes.
After the slightly awkward kiss situation, what happened?
Well, shortly after that, Diana came back and told him that it was almost time to get ready. So she had came back and escorted me where I was going to be seated.
Where did she escort you to?
The front, like about the second row, close to the stage.
And was there anyone else in that row with you?
Just security.
And when you say just security, where were they in relation to you?
So if I'm sitting right here, security is about on that last chair over there. They were still far away.
Did you watch the concert?
I did.
And how, if at all, did the defendant engage with you during the concert?
There were a few times he was like singing directly to me, making eye contact. That was one. He was singing and he pointed. He was interacting with me a lot, actually on the stage.
And how did that make you feel?
I was flattered at the time.
What, if anything, happened after the concert ended?
After the concert ended, Diana, she came up to me and she let me know that he was going backstage to the after party and that she would call me an Uber to take me back to the hotel.
And did she call you an Uber?
She did.
So did you go to the after party that night?
I did not.
And what happened after Diana called you an Uber?
Well, there was some type of complication. I don't know what happened, but I ended up just calling myself one and getting it.
And where did you go once you called yourself an Uber?
Returning back to the hotel.
What did you do when you got back to the hotel?
I showered and went to sleep.
Do you recall what you were wearing to sleep that night?
I had like loose shorts on, pajama shorts, and an oversized t-shirt.
Until about what time did you sleep that night?
From about like 12 in the morning to about 6 in the morning.
What happened at 6 a.m.?
Well, I received a call and he told me he was about to come up. And then like a couple of seconds later he said, knock knock, a heavy knock on my door.
And what happened after that?
I opened the door for him. He comes in.
Let me stop you for a moment. When you say he and him, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
All right, continue.
Okay, so R. Kelly comes in the door. He opens the door and he looks at me and he's like, "Why you got them pajamas on?" He comes in, the AC was on about like 70. He turns it all the way up to like 80 something. He said, he can't have the he said he can't have the heat. I mean, excuse me, the air on him. He comes in, he asked me to turn on ESPN on the sports channel for him, and there was a chair. He throws his stuff on the chair and he strips down from waist down. Only waist down he strips down. And he sits down and he kind of just pausing for a moment. He asked me again why I had those clothes on. He told me to take them off. I did right away. But eventually I ended up taking my clothes off. I didn't right away, I'm sorry, but eventually I ended up taking my clothes off. And I was in a bra and panties. I wasn't nude. And he asked me he said, "Come rub on daddy." And he was sitting there with his legs open. But I go to his shoulders and I start massaging his shoulders. And as I was massaging his shoulders, he takes my wrist and puts it on his penis. And he says, "No, right here, rub right here." And he rubs the motion back and forth. And right away, I let him know, because I was touching him, that I wasn't ready for sex. That wasn't something I was ready for. And he said, "Well, I'm at my best when I'm on it."
And when the defendant said to you, "I'm at my best when I'm wanted," what did you take that to mean at that time?
I understood that he was implying that it would be better when I was comfortable, but he had understood what I was saying.
Meaning he understood that you weren't ready for sex?
Yes,
Now, just to back up for a moment, I think you testified that when he came in, he had a bag with him. Is that right?
yes.
What kind of bag?
He had a Gucci backpack on it with, excuse me, a Gucci backpack. There was like patchwork, like a UFO on it.
And are you describing a line that Gucci had at the time?
Yes,
Now, you testified that the defendant came in and at some point stripped down from the waist. Is that right?
correct.
Where in the room did that happen, if you recall?
There was a chair and the room was not that big. He was just closer to the chair. He wasn't on the bed. He was standing up.
And when you say he stripped down, what do you mean by that?
He took his pants off. He took off his underwear. The only thing he had on was just a jacket, no shoes, no underwear, nothing.
And what part of his body was exposed?
His penis,
And you testified that he said to you, "Come rub on daddy." Is that right?
correct.
And what, if anything, did you do after he said that?
After he asked me to come rub on daddy, I started massaging his shoulders, his upper body.
And how did he react to that?
He moved my hand on his penis and told me to rub there.
Did you want to rub there at that time?
No.
Miss Shada, if this is a good time, we might as well take our afternoon break.
Sure, yes.
All right, folks, we're going to take our break for this afternoon. Please do not talk about the case at all. I will see you in a few minutes.
No, Your Honor. Oh, wait. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody can have a seat. The witness can step out. We will see you in about 10 minutes. Anything before we break?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so I will see you in about 10 minutes.
All rise.
Everybody can sit down. All right, let's get the witness, please.
Judge, there is just one thing I'd like to do before the witness comes in.
Sure.
which is just enter into evidence some business records pursuant to.
It's in front of the jury. I do not care, but
Yeah, I think I probably should. Yes.
makes sense. All right. So why don't we get the witness and you can do it while she is there? We have got to wait for.
They're going to the restroom, actually.
Okay. Might as well get started. We will have to wait for Mr. Scholar.
I think I'll send him a text.
That would be nice. Do you think it's okay to get started?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's just working with the investigator.
Let's please.
All rise.
Clerk.
All rise.
You may be seated.
All right, everybody. We are ready to continue. I think Ms. Yata wants to put something in evidence before we read the direct testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. At this point, the government would like to move to admit Government Exhibit 945A and 945B, pursuant as certified business records of NRG Recording Studios, and the business records certification has been marked as Government's Exhibit 945C. In addition, we'd move to admit Government Exhibit 946A, B, C, and D. Also, as certified business records from NRG Recording Studios, the business records certified for that is Government's Exhibit 946E.
Have you had a chance to look at them, counsel?
I don't think so.
They were provided.
Well, it is okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Those are in evidence.
All right. Now, before our break, you were testifying about certain events that occurred the morning after you attended the defendant's show at the theater in Westbury, correct?
Correct.
And you were testifying about events that occurred in your hotel room, correct?
Correct.
Now, I think you testified before the break that after the defendant entered your room, he stripped from the waist down and had his penis exposed. Is that correct? Is that right?
Correct. Correct.
And you testified he asked you to rub on daddy.
Correct.
And you went and was that when he exposed from the waist down already?
Correct.
And after that, you went and gave him a massage on his shoulders.
Correct.
And I think you testified it was at that point that he then took your hand, grabbed your hand, and moved it towards his penis.
Yes.
And what did he do with your hand at that point?
He moved my hand to his penis and instructed me, no, rub here.
Now, you testified before the break that at some point you told him you weren't ready for sex. Is that right?
Correct.
Miss Sylvia, I don't know what's wrong.
It's a feedback coming from yours.
From mine?
Yeah.
I don't have nothing on. Is it still mine?
I don't hear nothing right now. Tanya, talk at the same time. Put it on yours and see if it's put the two here. Tanya, check to see if it's the. Tanya, talk and see if it's yours. Tanya? Hello? I think hers is gone out. Hello? Can you guys see me? Hear me?
Yeah, everybody's here. I think hers, it must have been hers going out.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, she's gone.
Tanya, can
Okay,
you
sorry
hear?
guys. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm sorry guys. It kicked me out.
Okay.
So are we on?
And I think you
What line
testified.
are we on? Okay.
Line 4, I think. And I think you testified
Okay.
it was at that point that he then took your hand, grabbed your hand, and moved it towards his penis.
Correct.
And what did he do with your hand at that point?
He moved my hand to his penis and instructed me, no, rub here.
Now, you testified before the break that at some point you told him you weren't ready for sex. Is that right?
Correct.
And at what point was that you said that?
Once my hand was on his penis.
And how did he react?
He said that he was at his best when he was wanted.
And again, before the break, you testified. What did you understand? What at that point, at that time, did you understand that to mean?
I understood that we had a mutual agreement on I wasn't ready for sex and he was at his best when he was wanted.
Now, while you were in the room that day, you testified before the break that the defendant made a comment about what you were wearing. Is that right?
Yes.
And did the topic of your clothing come up again?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury about that?
Well, when he first came in, he made a comment about why I had on those granny pajamas. And when he had sat down in the chair after stripping, he instructed me again to take off your clothes. I paused for a moment, and then after that, I stripped my shirt and my shorts, and I had on my bra and underwear.
Now, after withdrawn, when the defendant put your hand on his penis, where in the room were you?
We were by a chair in a corner of the room.
And at some point, did the defendant direct you to move anywhere else?
Yeah, he told me to get on the bed.
And what happened then?
He instructed me to get on the bed on my back, like on all fours, and he just started rubbing on me. I had my bra and underwear on, so he was like rubbing on me, not caressing, but it was more like a texture type of rub feel. He worked his way down from my back all the way to my vaginal, and he began to stick his finger in me. He wasn't like, excuse me. He wasn't fingering me. It was like a poke, like poking my vagina. And his rubs were, he would do like a texture rub on my buttocks and my vagina. And he like literally like spread me open, felt in between, and like it was like a pat afterwards, like it was done. What?
I'm sorry. What's a texture rub, y'all?
Well, first of all,
Yeah, I'm trying
if
to
he
figure
told
what
you,
is a texture.
right, if he told you to get on the bed on my back, how you gonna be on all fours?
Like a cat.
On your back.
Meow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I'm laying on my back, and he
Wow.
told you, she said let me see, I had my brother, so he was like, rub me not. Yeah, he told me get on the bed on my back. If I'm on my back, my legs are up, like on all fours.
On
If
all
I'm on
fours.
all fours, that means my knees are on the bed and my arms are on the bed. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
they
Okay, I'm
fool.
just confused.
Sorry.
Hold on, I'm
Ooh.
trying to get together. I can't stop laughing. And while you were while you were just testifying, you made a movement with your hand. I think you put one hand over the other and made a movement back and forth. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that what it felt like the defendant was doing to you?
Yes.
And while he was doing those things, what did it feel like to you he was doing?
Oh my God. It felt like I was being like examined by OBGYN. He was like saying things while like poking me, said I was tight, things like that. This girl is crazy. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I just never heard nothing quite this stupid. It felt like, oh, I'm sorry. What was going on through your head at that time?
I was just like kind of like, ugh. I didn't know how to react to this. I don't I don't want to upset him, like get upset or make him upset. I really just it was one of those things. I was just like, okay, just get through it.
What do you recall happening next?
Shortly after that, I was like on all fours and he started giving me oral sex from behind. And there was like a pause, a brief pause. He told me to flip over and I thought I don't really know what was going on in my head when he told me to flip over. So I flipped over and when I flipped over, I noticed that there was an iPad and where we were at. Imagine this in the bed. So there's a like a little desk like right here and a lamp and the iPad and it's recording. I could see myself and I see he's giving me oral sex. It's just like it goes on. I see the camera. I didn't say anything about the camera. After he finishes performing oral sex on me, his pants were already off. So he started getting ready to penetrate me. And I said, are you going to use a condom? And he said, we don't need a condom. Mm.
What do you recall happened next?
He penetrated me. It was it didn't go on for very long. It wasn't a long time. The whole time he was telling me what to say, how to moan. He was saying, don't look away from the camera to look sexy. It was very like there was a few times like he said he would pause because I wasn't getting aroused and it was kind of like difficulties with him getting inside of me. So it didn't happen very long. And after he finished, he kind of let out a sigh like disappointment. And right away, he told me, like there was a lot I had to learn when it comes to sex, that I need to learn how to moan, how to arch my back, how to please him, how to position better, be more sexy during sex. I kind of was like, just like, okay. It took I took it as, I guess, constructive criticism. I was just, I really didn't care how he thought I looked because I didn't really know what to do. Like, that was my first time. After that, it was a brief pause. He looked at me and he said, if you were really like 16, you could tell daddy. I said, I kind of like paused, kind of laughed. I was like, I'm not 16. I was like, I'm 19. I was like, you want to see my driver's license? He said, no, he believed me. And then after that, he put on his clothes, got his backpack, and he left.
After he left, how did you feel?
Stupid.
I was embarrassed because I felt like maybe I really
Whore.
I felt like I was a bad, exactly, bad at sex.
Whore.
Was I that bad at sex? So, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute. Okay. I only had one boyfriend, so I didn't have a whole bunch of partners that
Liar.
really knew what I was doing. Did she just say she was a virgin? This was her first time?
She
Liar.
sure did.
Said she was a
Liar.
virgin
I
first
just
time. You only had one
I
boyfriend.
just read that she said this
Liar.
was her first time. That's why it was so hard.
Liar.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It didn't seem like
Your,
Wow.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Wow.
Sure. Come on up here with that mess.
Mm.
Redacted, redacted, redacted. Okay.
Jeez.
Okay.
Poor
Next
R. Kelly.
question. Exactly.
at any point before the defendant penetrated you that day in the hotel room, had the defendant told you that he had herpes?
No, he did not.
Had he told you he had any other sexually transmitted diseases?
No, he did not.
Did he use a condom that day?
No, he didn't.
Now, I think you testified that at some point during the interaction in the hotel room, you noticed an iPad. Is that correct? Is that right?
Correct. Ladies, excuse me, I'm getting an attitude because they are so wrong for what they doing. I'm sorry.
I know.
Correct.
And the thing is, did you notice she said in there that she noticed that he told her to look good for the camera or whatever? Why didn't she say something then?
Exactly.
She knew it was there.
Wow.
She's 19. Come on now. That's stupid.
Okay.
No.
Correct.
Okay. And you also testified that during your interaction, the defendant was saying things to you about how to moan
Correct.
and what to say.
Correct.
Do you recall anything about what he told you to say?
I like it, Daddy. Things like that.
Now, see, that's something else I don't get. Everybody, I mean, come on. This guy right here, he's, no offense, but he's a sex genius. I take it, I think. And he's hung like a horse, they say. I don't understand. Now, after the defendant left the room that day, what did you do?
Well, after he left, I took a shower and got back into the bed. I had called one of my best friend at the time, told her how the interaction went because I really was just wondering if it was off. Was it me? So I got her opinion on it.
And what else did you do that day?
After that, nothing else.
At some point, did you contact anyone you knew in New York about meeting up?
Yes.
And who did you contact?
My former high school best friend, she was there for a track meet.
And what, if anything, did you agree to do with your friend in New York?
We had agreed that since we were both in New York, we would meet up for lunch.
And after you, by the way, was that a female friend?
Yes.
And after you made plans with her, what, if anything, did you do?
I had let Diana know that what I was planning on doing
And why did you do that?
because he had told me to inform her of anything I was going to do or needed.
When you say he, are you referring to the defendant?
Correct?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm about to show you what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 208B. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 208B?
Correct.
And prior to your testimony here today, have you had an opportunity to look through Government's Exhibit 208B?
Yes, I have.
And is it an 80-page document?
It is.
And does this consist of screenshots of text messages between you and Diana Copeland from May 18th, 2017 through February 4th, 2018?
Yes.
I move to admit Government Exhibit 208B.
Any objection?
None.
Okay, that is in evidence.
Now I'm showing you page 7 of Government Exhibit 208B. Actually, before I do that, you said you contacted Diana to let her know your plans, right? Now I'm showing you page 7 of Government's Exhibit 208B. Actually, before I do that, you said you contacted Diana to let you know her plans, right?
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
I text her.
I'm showing you page 7 of Government's Exhibit 208B again. Are the texts in green from you to Diana?
Yes, they are.
And is there a series of texts from May 19th, 2017?
Yes.
And at the bottom, can you read what that text says?
Just keeping you updated. I'm going to go get food in a little bit. Won't be far.
And was that you informing Diana about your plans with your friend?
Yes.
And did Diana respond to you?
She told me to let Mr. Kelly know.
And is that here on the top of page 8 of Government's Exhibit 208B?
Yes.
Did you contact the defendant?
Yes.
And what happened when you contacted the defendant?
My page stuck, sorry. I had sent a text the same way I text Diana, and he had called me, and I had told him, hey, I'm thinking of going to go meet one of my friends for dinner. I'll be back. He kind of just laughed at me. He was like, what? And I was like, I'm going to go with one of my friends. And he was like, no, you're not. And he was like, no, he doesn't like for anybody to move without him. He told me it was dangerous for me to be by myself in New York. He told me that I could just order room service and that there was room service to just order it from the room service. And he told me that when room service arrives, that don't let them see me. For one, don't let them come in the room and give you the food. They would just leave it outside the door and I'll get it. He said, if it's a woman, just have her to set the food down, sign the bill, and go on. He said, but if it was a man, I don't let him see me at all. And then that I asked him to leave the bill at the door.
And after speaking with the defendant, did you end up going to meet your friend for dinner?
No,
Why not?
because he told me it wasn't safe to not do it, so I didn't.
What, if anything, did you end up doing instead?
Ordering room service.
And did you stay in the hotel room all day?
Yes.
Did you go to any other parts of the hotel?
No.
Why not?
I just stayed in the room so I wouldn't have to ask or wait for him to come. I just stayed.
What, if anything, did you understand you needed to do if you were going to go to another part of the hotel?
Check in and make sure that it was okay with him first.
Did you end up seeing the defendant again on that trip?
No.
When, if at all, did you fly home to San Antonio?
On May 20th.
After that trip to New York, What, if any, communication did you have with the defendant?
Well, after the trip to New York, we still had the same communication, phone calls, texting, and FaceTiming. Mainly after I saw him in person, it went more from texting to phone calls.
How, if at all, did the substance of any conversations change after your first New York trip?
When I got home, we had a conversation, and he was telling me that there was just a lot I had to learn about being with him, and that as I get to know him more, it will be better. I'll understand. He just told me anything he tells me is constructive criticism to make me better, to make me more of a woman. And I understood. I said I understood.
These were all things that he said to you.
Yes.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you about seeing you again?
He said he wanted to see me again. He told me again, just let him know when he was ready. Double check with him on the days, things like that.
Did you in fact see him again?
I did.
Where did you see him again?
I saw him in Chicago in June of 2017
Where did you travel to Chicago from?
from San Antonio, Texas.
Who booked your flights?
Diana.
Who paid for them?
R. Kelly.
About how long did you stay in Chicago?
About 2 days.
Where did you stay in Chicago?
I stayed at a hotel.
Who paid for the hotel?
R. Kelly.
After you arrived in Chicago, do you recall how you got to the hotel?
Uber picked me up from the airport and took me to the hotel.
Who arranged for that Uber?
Diana Copeland.
Did you see the defendant the day you arrived in Chicago?
I did not.
When, if at all, did you see him?
The following day,
Where did you see him?
I saw him at his Chicago studio.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as Government's Exhibit 503A. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize this to be?
The studio.
Is that the studio that you saw the defendant at in Chicago in June of 2017?
Correct.
Do you recall how you got to the studio that day?
Well, Diana called me an Uber to the studio.
What happened after you arrived at the studio?
Well, once I arrived at the studio, I let Diana know I was there. She said she would let Mr. Kelly know and that someone would be with me shortly to open a door.
At some point, did somebody open the door?
Yes,
Who was that?
R. Kelly.
What happened after that?
He opened the door. He said, hey. He had a smile on his face. He was friendly, warm. We walked inside. I looked around for a little bit, not long. He was directing me where to go. And I said something like, you still have your Christmas tree up in a normal tone. And he was like, shh. And I wasn't even yelling. We sat by the bar and he looked at me. At the time, I had a black eye. I told him about it. He looked at me and he said, titty still there, your ass still there. Okay, stand up. I stood up again. He turned me around. He was like, your eyes don't look that bad. Your eye don't look that bad. That was the end of the conversation about my eye. We sat not even for a full 5 minutes. Again, I said something. He said, shh, again. He was looking back, making sure nobody was coming. He looked back, looked forward, pulled his penis out of his pants. We were this close to each other. He said, suck on daddy. And he pulled my neck down and started giving him oral sex.
About how long had you been in the building at that point?
About 10 minutes.
Before that happened, what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about your clothes?
Again, when I walked in, he told me to take off my pants. I had told him that I was on my period. Right away, he told me Don't say you're on your period. Say your friend came. Say it. So I said, my friend came. He said, okay. That's when he looked back for a couple of seconds. Conversation went long, and he pulled out his penis.
After he pulled out his penis, where did he put his penis?
In my mouth. In my mouth.
About how long did that go on for?
Put it in
It
your
was,
mouth.
oh my God. It was probably like 30 minutes long. It was a long time. Mm.
After the defendant finished, at some point, did he say anything to you?
He told me that his words were, if he wants to go to a movie and the movie is 2 hours long, he said it might be me and you. The movie might be 2 hours long, but you're going to be sucking on my dick the whole time. He kind of like chuckled. I was like, oh, okay. After that, he looked at me. He said he wanted to take some pictures of me. He told me to text Diana and to tell her to get me an Uber to take me to the water tower to get some lingerie from Victoria's Secret. He dug in his pocket and pulled out $200. He told me to buy some lingerie, and Diana would arrange everything.
You
We
mentioned,
these little whores.
what is the water tower?
A shopping center in Chicago.
What was going through your head after that interaction?
I really was just again confused. We didn't really get to talk much that time. It was really rushed, so I felt like he had something to do. So after I went to the mall, bought some lingerie, and he never saw me again on that trip. On that trip,
At any point on that trip, did the defendant tell you he had herpes
no,
or any other sexually transmitted disease?
no.
Where, if anywhere, did you go after you left Chicago?
Back to San Antonio.
How, if at all, did the defendant and you keep in contact after the Chicago trip?
Texting, calling, FaceTiming, consistent conversations the same time as before. Nothing had changed.
At some point after the Chicago trip, without saying what you read, did you come across a negative article about the defendant?
Correct.
Around when was that?
Around July of 2017.
At some point, did you have a conversation with the defendant about those matters that you had seen?
Correct. We had a conversation. It wasn't direct. It was just through text. I had noticed that he would normally call me in the morning or whatever, and his calls and texts had slowed down. So I texted him. I said, "Hope you're okay." I didn't really accuse him of anything. I didn't ask. I said, "I hope you're okay. I know it's a lot that is going on." He texted me back and said, "Thank you and pray for me." And that right now, a lot of people were against him, and he was like, he wouldn't have to cheat anybody.
Did you see the defendant after that?
Yes.
Where did you see him again?
After that trip, I saw him again in Dallas.
Around
December 2017.
about 6 months after you saw him in Chicago?
Correct.
How did you travel to Dallas?
Diana made arrangements for my plane ticket to be booked.
Where did you fly to Dallas from?
San Antonio.
Did Diana book your flights?
She did.
Who paid for your flights?
R. Kelly.
How long did you stay in Dallas?
I stayed in Dallas for about a 3-day trip
Where did you stay in Dallas?
at the Statler.
Is that a hotel?
Yes, very nice one.
Who made the hotel arrangements for you?
Diana Copeland did.
Who paid for your hotel?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, was the defendant in Dallas for at that time?
He had a concert.
Where, if anywhere, did you see the defendant after you arrived in Dallas?
I first saw him at a cigar bar.
How was it that you ended up at the cigar bar?
Diana had arranged for a car to pick me up from the hotel and meet him at the cigar bar.
When you say him, you're referring to the defendant?
Correct.
What happened when you got to the cigar bar?
Well, when I arrived at the cigar bar, he was already there. His entourage, his friend was there. It's like a shopping center, but there are benches and things in front. It was a little bit of people, not a bunch, not a whole bunch, but they were all fans. When I pulled up, he took his last couple of pictures. When he saw that I was there, he asked everybody to put their phones up. After that, he walked inside the cigar bar.
When you say we, who walked inside the cigar bar?
Me, Diana, and R. Kelly and his entourage.
What happened when you got inside?
Well, once we got inside, right away, Diana told me where to sit. She was sitting across from me. There was nobody there for me to interact with. There was a gentleman I didn't know to my left, 2 seats away. He was talking to the owners, just being friendly. They offered me a bottle of champagne. He got me a bottle of champagne.
Who offered you a bottle of champagne?
R. Kelly,
You said someone was talking to the owners. Who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
What happened after you were offered champagne?
After I got the champagne, I was sitting there probably like 2 glasses of champagne for the amount of time I was there. There was a moment where I had my legs crossed to the left, and there was a man on my left side, and he had came behind me and whispered in my ear. He said, "Sit up, straighten my legs, and turn them the other way."
Who said that?
R. Kelly. He told me that my legs should never be pointed to another man when I'm in public with him.
Where, if anywhere, did you go after the cigar bar?
After the cigar bar, there was an older gentleman there that he said was his uncle, and he told me to get in the car with him and Diana would ride with me to the venue, that we would follow the sprinter, and we did.
Did you did you see what, if any, car the defendant got into?
His sprinter.
What happened after you got to the concert venue?
Well, when we arrived at the concert venue, we arrived in the back, we walked to his dressing room. Diana was there with me as well. She showed me his side of the dressing room. There was some Hennessy and cranberry juice. He told her to make me a drink. She did. I had maybe a cup or two before the show started. There was a moment where it was just me and Diana. He came in and told her she could leave, and it was just me and him. We engaged in sex before the show.
At that point, how much had you had to drink that day?
I was, I had a little bit of champagne before. I was drinking Hennessy and cranberry juice, probably a cup and a half. I wasn't belligerently drunk, but I was feeling it.
What, if anything, happened after the defendant had sex with you that day?
After we had sex, Diana knocked before she entered. She let him know he had 10 minutes. So again, he got dressed and we went on stage. Diana, she walked me to where I was going to be sitting. Again, my seat was close to the stage to where he could see me. I could see him.
And did you stay for the whole concert?
Yes.
How, if at all, did the defendant interact with you during the concert?
Again, just like the times before, coming like right where I was. This time he was a little bit more direct. He caught the attention of the people behind me. He was just entertaining, I guess, me from where I was at.
What happened after the concert?
After the concert, we were backstage. Diana had came and got me from my seat again, escorted me backstage. The backstage room, it was pretty big. There was like a curtain that split the room in the middle. I could hear other people on the other side, but I couldn't see them. I heard that there was like a young woman and her mom, and they were playing her music. I could hear them laughing, things like that. They ended up coming on the side that I was on to change a song. I could hear him too on the side as well, but I wasn't entertaining. I wasn't entertaining them. They weren't entertaining me. It was just me and Diana. There was a moment where he peeked in again. He was like, Diana, make her a drink. She got up right away, made me another drink. That's really what the scene was like backstage.
Did Diana make you more than one drink? Did Diana make you more than one drink?
Yes.
Had you had anything to eat that at that point?
No.
Where did you go? Where, if anywhere, did you go after this time backstage?
I didn't go anywhere backstage. I just stayed back there.
My question was unclear. Did you leave the area that you were in at some point?
Yes.
Where, if anywhere, did you go?
Back to the hotel.
How did you get there?
Uber.
When you got back to the hotel, what kind of state were you in?
When I got back to the hotel, I was drunk by then.
Did you hear from the defendant after you got back to the hotel?
I probably um I probably had like maybe 2 hours of sleep and he was knocking on the door.
And what happened then?
He came in again. We had sex. I don't remember this time if it was recorded or not. And that was it. He had left some jewelry there. So the next day, I let him know he had left his jewelry.
Did you see the defendant again on that trip?
Yes.
When did you see him?
When he had came to get his jewelry.
Did he come back to the hotel room, to your hotel room?
Yes.
When he got back to your hotel room, what, if anything, do you recall the defendant saying to you?
Our conversation in the hotel room, that was really one of the more serious conversations we ever really had. I had never seen him cry into that conversation or really get deep into his personal self, his personal life. When he walked in, he didn't seem like super happy, but he didn't seem upset. I thought he was just coming to get his jewelry. Um, he he went on a ramble. He said people always talking about the bad I've done, but never talk about the good. He stated that nobody ever talks about the money he donates to charity. They don't talk about the events that he had to give back or how he likes to feed the homeless, things like that. He got really emotional. He expressed to me some things that happened to him when he was a child.
What, if anything, did the defendant say during that conversation about protecting him?
He asked me if I would protect him.
And what happened after that?
I like they leading. After he asked me if I would protect him, I said yes. That came with a brief pause. After that, he told me that an attorney was going to be coming up and she had some papers for me to sign. He was like, just some papers, the states our business is our business and that you'll protect me. And again, he asked me, again, he said, will you protect me? I said, yes. After that, he goes on. He finished telling me things. He gets deeper. He says because we hadn't seen each other in a couple of months since the last trip, he says there's been a lot said about him, about me, a lot going on. He revealed to me he said there were some females that I was raising. I had a group of women that I raised. He said some women had been with me for 5 years, some women had been with me for a year, some women had been with me for 15 years. He stated that these women were his family, that they protect him, that like a relationship, but like they were a family. He stated that the reason why he liked me was that I reminded him of the girls. I asked him, I said, do you all sleep together? And he said, yes. I told him, I'm not into girls at all. And he said, well, if I want both of you to suck my dick, ultimately it's about pleasing me. So you're going to suck my dick with her again. If it was just one of those things, I tried to chuckle it off. I didn't think like, okay, I guess so. He must be serious. He paused again and he kind of had this look on his face like he was uncomfortable. After he had told me everything, he said, "You know, you were at the concert, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're right there." He said, and they, the girls, referring to the girls, he said, they were on the side of me. You didn't even know. He said, where I go, they go. He had explained to me that it's a group of them. They were they are involved. He said they love each other, but he was like, as far as talking about ex-boyfriends or anything really too personal, he said that they didn't discuss that with one another. He said he trusted them and they trusted him back.
You testified that the defendant said something to you about a lawyer coming up to the room and you signing something.
Correct.
Now, did a lawyer end up coming to the room?
Correct.
No.
Oh, no, the attorney never came. I'm sorry.
Did the defendant talk to you about anything that he wanted you to write?
After about 30 minutes of us sitting there, no attorney came. Again, when he's in deep thought, he'll pause. And he said that again, he needed me to protect him. And he said that there was going to be basically, he needed me to write down something about my family that I didn't want anybody to know. And I said, well, there is nothing I could think of that I don't want anybody to know. Nothing about your dad or your mom? No. He's like, I can help you with that.
What did you understand him to mean?
That he would help me come up with a lie to form on my family or my parents if I couldn't think of one on my own. Shortly after that, he asked me to pull out my phone, and I pulled out my phone. And he said, this time he gave me another number to group text with. He had me group text these numbers. He said, I want you to text this. He told me exactly what to text, down to what emoji to use. He said, text this for me. Daddy, I want to be with you and the girls. He was like, put praying hand emoji. Like this. He asked me if I understood what to type. I said yes. He said, did you send it? I said yes. He said, good. After that, he told me to get dressed. We were going to go out, and I did.
The letter that he asked you to write with the things about your family, did you end up doing that?
No.
Was it after that that he asked you to send that text you just
Correct.
you testified that the text you sent was a group text, is that right?
Correct.
Did you have any understanding about who that text was being sent to?
I was sending the group text to all of his numbers. He had different phones. I was sending the text to multiple phones.
Belonging to the defendant?
Correct.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you in that hotel room in Dallas about rules?
He had let me know that they had rules and that pretty much they are understood. They are followed. He has a way to be greeted down to the rules as to when he walks in the room. Everybody greets each other. They all kiss him, things like that.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
The girls.
The defendant's girls?
Correct.
What, if any, impression did you have about why the defendant was telling you all these things?
The impression that I had was like, I guess he felt like we were at
Objection.
I'll sustain that as to form.
What was going through your head after the defendant told you these things?
I guess that he trusted me.
Same objection, Your Honor. It's her own thoughts.
Thank you for telling me that. The objection is sustained.
After he told you to get dressed, did he say anything what to get dressed for?
He said we were going out. He asked me what there was to do in Dallas since I was from Texas. I told him there was hookah bars open on Sundays late.
After you got dressed, where, if anywhere, did you go?
Upstairs to his room. He sent me downstairs to his room after we got dressed.
The defendant took you downstairs?
Correct.
Did you know where you were going when you were leaving your hotel room?
I was under the impression that we were leaving,
Like going out?
heading to the hookah bar. Correct.
What happened when you got to the defendant's hotel room?
When I got to R. Kelly's hotel room, he was knocking on the door. He didn't just go in. He opened the door and there was another woman in the room.
How, if at all, did that other woman greet the defendant after the door opened?
She said, "Hey, Daddy." She had a big smile on her face and she kissed him.
What happened next?
He turned to kiss me.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say?
I was like, "You gonna kiss me after you just kissed her?" He was like, "Yes." He reminded me again that that's how they greeted.
Did the defendant say anything about who this woman was?
He introduced her to me as Joy.
I'm showing you what is in it evidence as government's exhibit 78. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes,
Who is this in the photo?
Joy.
Was that the woman in the room that day?
Yes.
What, if any, discussion did the defendant have with you and Joy withdrawn? First of all, what kind of hotel room was it that you went to that day that Joy was in?
We were in a hotel suite.
And what, if any, discussion did the defendant have with you and Joy in the hotel suite?
He quickly introduced us. He said, "Joy, Faith, Faith, Joy." He said, "You all get to know each other," just like that.
When he said, you all get to know each other, did he have any other instructions about that?
That he just reminded me again, they don't discuss their boyfriends, things like that. Things that he said, quote unquote, were disrespectful to him.
So what, if anything, did you discuss with Joy?
When me and Joy had a conversation, our conversation was not really a two-way conversation. She kind of just looked at me from up and down. She said literally everything I had on she liked. "I like your hair, I like your shoes, I like your jeans, I like your shirt." Literally from top to bottom complimenting me.
Did you see how Joy was dressed that day?
Yes, he had told me to wear heels, and I looked at her. She had on heels as well, but her hair wasn't done. Her clothes weren't very fashionable. Her toenails were chipped. Her nails were broken. She just looked very unkept.
Now you testified that she complimented you on what you were wearing. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, did you happen in that hotel suite or somewhere else? Now, did that happen in that hotel suite or somewhere else?
This happened outside the hotel suite.
So after you went to the hotel suite with the defendant and met Joy, was that the first time you had met Joy?
Yes.
Where, if anywhere, did the three of you go after that?
After he quickly introduced us, we went down to the elevator. He said in a moment he was going to go get the car, so we were just waiting. It was just us two, and that's where she had complimented me.
Now, at some point, did the defendant come back?
Yes.
And what did he come back with?
He came back with the Sprinter.
And what happened then?
He said, "Let's go." We got up to leave, and he had before we got in the Sprinter, he lit his cigar. He lit his cigar, and Joy was lighting it for him.
Who got into the Sprinter?
Me, R. Kelly, and Joy.
And what part of the Sprinter did the three of you get into?
The riding side of the Sprinter.
What, if anything, well, can you describe what you saw in the Sprinter when you went inside?
When I open the door to the Sprinter, there is two seats back like this, and there's two seats that will sit in front of you. So when you be sitting across from each other, I noticed that there was like a Victoria's Secret bag. I saw like multiple bras and panties, like toothbrush, hairbrush, like manicure maintenance stuff.
And when you were in the back of the Sprinter, could you see who was in the front?
No.
Why was it that you couldn't see who was in the front?
In the Sprinter, so in the Sprinter, say I'm sitting where behind normally in like a truck or SUV, there's like a little window where you could see who's driving, where you could open it and say something. It was almost like that. It wasn't cardboard, it was like brick. It was just like don't know what to call it, but it was like it was something that was screwed over that piece to where it wasn't showing. So I couldn't see who was driving or the passenger seat, and they couldn't see me either.
And when you say the passenger seat, you mean the front passenger seat next to the driver?
Correct.
Now, when you entered the Sprinter, did you notice if there was anyone in the front passenger seat before getting inside?
Yes, Diana got in the Sprinter with us as well.
And where did she get in?
In the front driver's passenger seat.
And where, if anywhere, did you all go in the Sprinter?
We went to the Hookah Bar I told him about.
And by the way, was there also a driver in the Sprinter?
Correct.
Now, what, if anything, happened on the drive to the Hookah Bar?
On the drive to the Hookah Bar, he had asked me who did I listen to for Christmas. And I said, Johnny Gill's Christmas album. And he said, he laughed at me. He said, Joy, turn on my Christmas album. So she turned on his Christmas album. He pulled out a bottle of Ciroc and he drinks. He passes it to Joy. She drinks. He says, pass it to her. And I kind of like hesitated. I was like, I don't think I want to drink. I don't think I want to drink it. And he was like, drink. He was like, drink. So I drank it. And we did that for a good 10 minutes. We were just passing the bottle around. The bottle was full. And by the time we were done, it was damn near empty.
And at some point, did the Sprinter arrive at the Hookah Bar?
It did.
And what happened when the Sprinter arrived?
When we arrived at the Hookah Bar, he got up. He said, y'all stay here. He said, I'm going to go scope the scene to make sure there ain't too many niggas here in there. Those were his words. So he got up. Diana came to the door, let him out, and they both went inside the Hookah Bar.
When you say that they both went, do you mean Diana and the defendant?
Correct. She followed him.
And where did you and Joy stay?
In the Sprinter.
How long did you and Joy stay in the Sprinter?
We were in the Sprinter for some hours. It wasn't just a minimum wait, 45. We were in there for some hours.
And what time of year was this again?
This was December.
And at some point while you were in the Sprinter, did you feel uncomfortable?
I felt uncomfortable. I started just getting hot. The heat was on, and I was already holding my pee for a long time. Yeah.
And when that happened, what did you do?
I had let Dinah know that I had to use the bathroom, and she said, okay, stand by. And it took her a minute to get there. I called her phone.
When you say a minute, what do you mean?
Excuse me, not a minute. It took a long time for her.
Are you saying a minute as in a slang term?
Yes, excuse me. A minute is slang. When I say a minute, I really mean a long time.
Now, did you at some point try to open the door to the sprinter?
Yes, there was a moment where, cause I was kind of like nodding off, and then when I nodded off and be like, I'm still here, I looked at Joy and I tugged on her, and she was like,
Tugging what?
the door, and she said, you have to ask. But even when I tugged on the door, it didn't move, and she was like, the door is broken, and you have to ask. So I was like, okay.
So when you tried to open the door, it did not open?
It did not open.
And what did you do after you tried to open the door? It didn't open. Joy told you had to ask.
That's when I began to contact Diana first and then R. Kelly. And it wasn't until I text Diana and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm about to pass out. Is when somebody came out and drove me to the bathroom.
Now, you testified that someone finally came to the sprinter. Is that right?
Correct.
Who came?
Diana came and he came.
And what happened then?
After they arrived, they drove me and Joy and R. Kelly to IHOP to use the restroom, to use the bathroom.
And what happened once you arrived at the IHOP?
Again, Diana came and opened the door. She asked who all had to use the restroom. Me and Joy both went. She followed us to the bathroom. She opened the door for us. When we got to the bathroom, we used the bathroom. When I was using the bathroom, Joy, she washed her hands and she didn't use the bathroom. But when I used the bathroom, Diana was standing outside the stall. She opened it for me. When I was washing my hands, she was waiting. She opened the door to let me out, and again, we went back into the sprinter. Mm,
And did Diana use the bathroom at all?
she did. No, she did not.
What happened after you got back to the sprinter?
Well, once we got back to the sprinter, he asked me if he could talk to me, and so I stepped outside the sprinter, and we had a conversation. And he asked me why I wasn't feeling good. Again, I had reminded him at the time that I was epileptic. And drinking at the time was my trigger. I had been involved in an accident prior to, and I'd never had to deal with seizures, but now I did. And I knew that drinking was a trigger. So I just reminded him, just of everything we had already talked about before I got there.
So let's back up a moment. So you mentioned you're epileptic. Is that right?
Correct.
And around did you develop epilepsy?
Around late 2015.
And what happened that resulted in you developing epilepsy?
Well, my high school boyfriend at the time, after graduation, he had got a girl pregnant and we ended up getting into it. She had stabbed me in the lung, in my shoulder, in my back.
And were you hospitalized for weeks?
Yes.
And after that, did you develop epilepsy?
Yeah, from the head trauma.
Now you testified that you had discussed this with the defendant before. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you recall when in the time approximately when in the time you knew him, you had first discussed this with him?
We discussed it before I even flew to meet him. We were having those basic conversations about who he was, about who I was, and he asked me if I had a boyfriend. I had let him know I only had one boyfriend and it really didn't go well. Things like that.
And that's when you told him about the stabbing
Correct.
and the epilepsy.
Correct.
All right. Now going back to after the IHOP, when you went to the bathroom at the IHOP in Dallas and the defendant was speaking to you, I think you just testified. You brought up the fact that you get seizures to him then again as well.
Yes, correct. He had asked me what a seizure was again. He said, "What's a seizure again?" So I explained to him what a seizure was, and he said, "Oh, well, I can't have you on the road with me when you get sick, so I need you to get better." And I was just like, it's not really anything to get better from. It's just seizures. It's just a seizure might happen if I'm getting sitting, overheating, drunk.
Now, after you used the bathroom at the IHOP, where, if anywhere, did you go?
After we came back from the IHOP, we returned back to the hotel.
And who went back to the hotel?
All of us, me, Diana, R. Kelly, Joy.
And once you got back to the hotel, where in the hotel did you go?
I went back to my hotel room. When I got out of the Sprinter, he instructed Diana to, he said, "Diana, make sure you go in and watch her. Make sure she's all right." And she did. She followed me up to my room. I had showered. I laid down. It was probably about an hour she stayed. She was just sitting there. She wasn't talking. After an hour, she got up. She told me she was going back to her hotel room, and I said, "Okay."
Did you see the defendant again on that trip?
I did.
And do you recall when you saw the defendant again on that trip?
On my way out and on his way out as well.
When you say your way out, what do you mean?
I was leaving Dallas and so was he.
And did you see him at the hotel?
Correct. In front of the hotel we met.
And what, if any, conversation did you have with him at that time?
He had let me know that now things were getting more serious. He said I probably the next time would stay for 2 weeks. He wanted me to come to him and stay at his house for 2 weeks. He had made a comment. He said I was gaining weight. So he was like, for 2 weeks, I want you to come get right. He said he was going to give me a personal trainer. He also stated that he didn't like that when he has sex with me, he can't get in me. He said that I needed to get a dildo that was the size of his penis and I need to start using it so that he doesn't have any problems when we were having sex.
And what type of problems did you understand him to be referring to when you were having sex?
Not being able to penetrate me fully.
Did you leave Dallas after that?
Yes.
And where did you go?
Back to San Antonio.
And did you continue to communicate with the defendant after you got back to San Antonio?
Yes.
How, if at all, did you communicate with the defendant change after your trip to Dallas?
Well, after my trip to Dallas, actually our communication had changed to where the conversations weren't so much like sweet. It was more like um you would think I guess we were in a relationship to where he told me, "I want to know where you go, who you're going with, the address. If you're going out, ask me if you can go out." He said, "If there's going to be niggas there," he said, "I need to know who." He wanted to know my home address and literally everywhere I went. And he said, when he calls my phone, I need to answer it. If I don't pick up, that's an issue.
And did you follow his instructions?
I did.
I'm going to show the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 207E through H. May I approach your Honor?
Yes.
Can you take a look at those documents and let me know if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And what do you, generally speaking, what do you recognize these documents to be?
Are we out of a battery again?
There you go. Well, it's just low.
Is it low?
Yes.
Do you want to change the battery? Thanks, Donna.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Generally speaking, what do you recognize the documents I just showed you to be?
Text messages between me and R. Kelly.
And are these screenshots of certain text messages from your phone?
Correct.
I move to admit government's exhibit 207E through H.
Any objection?
No.
Those are in evidence.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you what's in evidence as government's exhibit 207E.
Now, at the top, does it indicate how many people we're sending this text message to?
3.
And what does that refer to there?
3 different phones.
For who?
R. Kelly.
So it's group text, but all to R. Kelly's phones.
Correct.
Now, are the texts, who are the texts engraved from?
Hold on, just him. Hello?
She dropped out. The defendant
Correct.
and the response in blue on the right side, are those from you?
Correct.
And at the top, is there a text from the defendant saying, where are you?
Correct.
And you will respond, Olive Garden, do you want me to call? And then send him a photo, is that right?
Correct.
Why did you do that?
Because those were part of his rules. He wanted to know where I was at, what I was doing, so I just sent him a picture.
I'm showing you what's in evidence as government's exhibit 207F. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
And can you describe what you sent to the defendant that's shown on government's exhibit 207F?
I'm showing him my outfit as I headed out to attend the funeral service.
And what did you write to him?
Daddy, I'm headed to the service. Just wanted to send you pics of what I'm wearing. Love you. He said, good night, girl, and sent a selfie back.
Why did you send him these texts?
Those were part of the rules.
I'm showing you government's exhibit 207G. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
And can you describe, can you go through the text here?
I was out shopping and he had called me, so I sent a picture to let him know I was still shopping. And then he replied, hey, baby, I love you.
I'm showing what's in evidence as government's exhibit 207H. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
And this photograph of someone's hand with nails, did you send that?
Correct.
And whose hand is that?
My hand.
Now, are the texts in blue from you?
They are.
And what did you write the defendant that day?
I asked him if it was okay if I went out with my older sister, the one he had met.
And was that the one he had met back at the Tobin Center?
Correct.
And why did you send him that text?
I was making sure it was okay for me to go out, following what he had asked me.
Now, at some point, did you travel to see the defendant again?
Yes.
Where did you go?
After my last trip to Dallas, my next trip was to Los Angeles.
And where did you travel from to Los Angeles?
I traveled from San Antonio.
Around when was this trip?
This trip was around January of 2018.
And who booked your flights for that trip to Los Angeles?
Diana.
And who paid for your flights?
R. Kelly.
And how long did you stay in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles was about a 2-day stay, weekend trip again
And do you recall where you stayed?
at the Holiday Inn.
And who paid for your hotel?
R. Kelly.
What happened when you got to LA?
Well, when I arrived in LA, Diana called an Uber to pick me up and take me to the hotel.
And what happened after you got to the hotel?
Once I got to the hotel, I was told instructions on who to talk to, or tell them, what names the room was under from Diana, and I went to my room.
And do you recall whether the room was under your name there?
I don't.
I'm showing you what's in evidence. Page 59 of Government's Exhibit 208B. Again, are you these texts between you and Diana?
Yes.
And I'm actually going to show you the page before, page 58. Do you see a text from January the 12th, 2018?
Yes.
Now, the texts in blue are from you, correct?
The texts in gray are from Diana. Oh, wait a minute. Correct. I'm sorry.
The texts in gray are from Diana.
Correct.
When you said at the top, is it under my name? What are you referring to?
The hotel room.
And how did Diana respond?
Tell them I left the key with Billy. It's under Diana Copeland.
And does that refresh your recollection as to what happened when you got to the hotel?
Correct.
What happened?
I arrived at the hotel and I let them know that Diana Copeland had given me permission to her room. She said she left the key with Billy. They asked me for any identification. Didn't hesitate, gave me the room key. They didn't ask me for any identification, I'm sorry. Didn't hesitate, gave me the room key and the number.
Now, where, if anywhere, did you go after getting to the hotel?
Well, once I arrived at the hotel, I didn't go anywhere immediately. I texted Diana and she told me to get ready. A car would pick me up and take me to the studio where he was.
And where, if anywhere, did you first see the defendant after arriving in LA?
At a studio in LA.
And how did you get to that studio?
Uber.
Do you remember where the studio was located?
In Los Angeles.
Do you remember the specific address?
No.
I'm showing you pages 60 and 61 of Government's Exhibit 208B. These are, again, texts with Diana.
Yes.
And does this show her requesting an Uber for you to get to the studio?
Yes.
Turn to page 61. Did you ask her what building number the address was?
Correct.
And did she respond with first 11129 Weddington and then corrected it to 11128?
Correct.
Is that where the Uber took you?
Correct.
And what happened when you approached the building in the Uber?
Once I got out the Uber, Diana met me outside the gate. She let me in. She walked me toward the Sprinter. The Sprinter was parked outside the front of the studio. And she told me to wait in there, that Mr. Kelly would just be a moment.
And where did you see Diana go?
She went into the front part of the Sprinter again. She went into the front part again of the Sprinter, and I went to the back part.
And was anyone inside the Sprinter when you arrived other than, was anyone inside the part of the Sprinter you went inside?
No.
And how long did you wait in the Sprinter?
I was waiting in the Sprinter for him for over an hour.
And at some point, did you need to use the bathroom?
Yes.
I'm showing you again page 61 of Government's Exhibit 208D. At the bottom of this page is the text in blue from you.
Correct.
Is this a text to Diana?
Correct.
And what did you write there?
I need to use the bathroom. Laugh out loud.
And turning to the next page, how did Diana respond?
Okay. Stand by.
Now, after Diana responded, okay, stand by, what happened?
It was like probably a 15-minute wait before she came to the back and opened the door and let me out to take me to the bathroom.
And where did she take you?
She walked me through the back to the front where the restroom was, the back of the studio to the front.
Do you mean the back entrance of the studio?
Correct.
Now, before you texted Diana telling her you needed to use the bathroom, about how long had you been in the Sprinter waiting?
It had already been hours.
After Diana took you to use the bathroom, where did she take you after that?
Back to the Sprinter.
At some point, did Diana take you anywhere else?
She took me inside, yes.
Inside the studio?
Correct.
And where did she take you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Where did she take you in the studio?
To the studio, to the actual recording part. I'm sorry, excuse me.
And can you describe the room that Diana took you to for the jury?
When I walked into the room, I knew I was in the studio. I knew I was in the recording side because there was a piano, there was a stand, a mic stand with a microphone in it. And so if you walk in, I'm looking at this side. So the engineering window is behind me and all the windows. It's probably like windows from like that end to this. They're all covered with like covers, drapes, blankets, curtains. If the curtains couldn't cover it, they threw a blanket over it. It was covered and nobody else was in there. There was a couch in there, a black couch, and there was 2 rooms. It looked like there was like a lounge chair, and then another room had a whole bunch of his stuff in it.
When you say his stuff, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly's.
And I think you testified that you saw, or what did you say about actually withdrawn? One moment, Your Honor. I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 946. Sorry. What's in evidence as Government Exhibits 946D? And that's a series of photographs that I'm going to show you. Do you recognize these photographs?
Correct.
And what do you recognize these photographs to be?
The studio that I was in.
In LA?
Correct.
And did the studio look exactly like these photographs when you were there?
It did not.
How was the studio different?
Well, the piano was in the middle. There was a big area rug. The lights were dim. There was a long black couch. There were a few chairs. All those rooms, well, excuse me, the room on the left side was full of Christmas gifts. And on the right side, that's like the little lounge room. It wasn't that big. There was like 2 lounge chairs in there.
So the little lounge room is the one I'm pointing to here.
Correct.
And showing you the third photograph in Government's Exhibit 946-D, this area of the studio room, did it look like that when you were there?
No.
How was it different?
It's different because the windows, you can see them. When I walked in, that whole window was covered. Like I said, there was a couch on the side as well. So your back would be to the window, and there was an area rug.
And so the part I'm pointing to, the window, internal window in the middle, is that the part you were referring to that was covered?
Correct.
And do you recall how it was covered?
There was like curtains, drapes, and then on the corner where I guess the curtains couldn't reach, they had just like capered down a tapestry down there, thrown there over it. Now, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, after Diana took you to that room, what happened?
Well, after Diana took me to that room, she took me in, she walked me in, she walked me out. She just said, text me if you need anything. She walked me in, she walked out. She just said, text me if you need anything. I said, okay. She said, he'll be in soon. Maybe around like 15 minutes after we.
Who did you understand her to be referring to when she said he would be in soon?
R. Kelly.
And then did Diana leave?
She did.
And then what happened after that?
After she left, maybe about like 15 minutes, I was just sitting there and he came in really fast. He literally, like, he was jogging in like he was grabbing something. So he jogged in to get something and he jogged out.
Who is the he?
R. Kelly. He said, hey, baby. I said, hey, babe. It was a really fast interaction.
And did he leave after that?
Yes. Yeah.
And how long went by until you saw him again?
Hours. It was lots of hours.
Now, prior to that, you mentioned there was a point where he came in and out really fast. Is that right?
Correct.
And prior to that day, had the defendant told you anything about how you or what you should do when he entered the room?
I should greet him back. I should be standing up, greeting him with love when he walked in the room.
And did you do that day?
I did not.
Now, you said you ended up waiting in that room for hours. Is that right?
Correct.
At some point, did you text Diana?
I did.
And what were you texting her about?
I had to use the bathroom again. And then I told her, I had asked her, like, did he want me to wait and still, or could I go back to the room after a couple of hours?
Now, I'm going to show you page 62 of Government Exhibit 208 Korean B, which is in evidence. And I'm pointing to the text towards the upper middle, the blue, in blue. Is that a text from you?
Yes.
And what did you write there?
I have to use the bathroom, laugh out loud. Sorry. Do I wait for you?
And how did Diana respond?
Yes, wait for me.
And what happened after that?
That was like around 2 something. So I was waiting for hours and I texted her again and I said, can I leave back to the room? Laugh out loud. Or he wants me to wait.
And that's your text down here?
Yes.
And did Diana? No. And that's several hours later. Is that right?
Yeah, at like 6:20 a.m.
And did Diana respond about an hour later saying, please wait?
Yes.
Now, during the time you were waiting in the Sprinter outside the studio, and then inside the studio in that room, what, if anything, did you do?
Nothing. I was just waiting for him.
Were you given any food during that time?
No.
Any water?
No.
Now, at some point, did you see the defendant again?
Yes.
And where did you see him again?
In that same room where I was waiting.
What happened when he came in the room?
This is actually, Your Honor, this may be a good stopping point.
Oh, all right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break for the day. I will see you tomorrow, same time. Do not talk about the case. Do not read any articles or listen to any news reports of the case. And obviously, do not talk to anybody about it. But please have a good night. I will see you tomorrow.
All rise.
Okay, the witness can step out, and I will see you tomorrow. Everybody can have a seat. I'm sorry. I am prepared to rule on that matter we discussed at the side.
Okay.
You were not there, Mr. Scholar. With respect to the application to question the witness, I had ruled prior to trial, pursuant to Rule 412 of the Federal Rules of Evidence, that it was inappropriate to question any of the witnesses about prior sexual conduct, even when the court is considering it, if it is only in specific instances where it is offered to prove that someone else was the source of the injury or physical evidence, when it is evidence of specific instances offered to prove consent. And the third reason is if excluding the evidence will violate the defendant's constitutional rights. I have looked through the material, the 3500 material. I do not see, first of all, I do not see any evidence of the nature that counsel said there was. It is precisely the opposite, and none of the exceptions under Rule 412 apply. There's also the additional requirement that it has to be offered 14 days before the trial and that the victim has to be notified. None of those things have happened. I think it is inappropriate line of inquiry. I am denying the application and you have an exception to the ruling.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to add one thing for the record.
Sure, but I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Regarding to the 14-day rule, if Your Honor recalls, I only mentioned it. In fact, what I did is when I thought the victim opened the door, I asked to approach.
Right.
And there was not an opportunity to given any notice because this was something that came up that the witness of her own volition offered regarding her history. And I just felt as though that, okay, based on that testimony, a door was open for me to make an inquiry.
I understand. As I said, I have reviewed the 3500 material. I do not see any basis to do that. So the application is denied. Is there anything else that we have to discuss?
Your Honor, there was a reference may we just go sidebar on this?
Sure. It's been redacted. Redacted. Anything else before we break for the day?
Nothing else from us, Your Honor.
Anything from you?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing? Okay, see you tomorrow. And that is a wrap. Where everybody go?
I don't know.
Oh my Lord.
It's just us, Mija.
I mean, where's Miss Sylvia?
I don't know.
I don't guess they're on another thing. Let me see. Because everybody dropped out. Let's see.
There's still comments.
Are they? Oh, okay. Now I can't see the chat.
I think. Wait, let's see. Miss Sylvia, can you let me back in, please? I'm here. Oh, that was a private chat. Can you hear me? I don't think there's another one open, girl. Have we been reading to ourselves?
Yeah, they still coming. I guess I don't know what Sylvia is.
So can people in the chat, can you guys hear us?
Yeah, they let's see.
Can y'all hear us in the chat?
Did amazing job, ladies. Yes. Okay, they can hear.
Okay, cool. All right, so that is the end.
She probably stepped away. She might be, since she's leaving. Is she leaving tonight?
I think so. I'm not really sure. Okay, good, Renee.
Packing or something.
Okay, so how do we do? We're done.
She'll come in and end the live. I guess we can go into the chat, I guess.
Thank you, Kimberly.
All right, so we're heading to the chat.
Okay, bye, ladies. Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time.
Y'all finished?
We're finished.
Yeah.
Are we gonna just continue reading?
Everybody got dropped out. It was just me.
Hello?
Me and Tanya. We finished everything. We done.
Okay, y'all
31st.
finished.
I can't
The
hear nobody.
31st is done.
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome job, y'all.
It's a
Oh,
wrap.
Awesome
man.
job. So we'll
Yep.
continue. I'll be flying out, so we can continue when I get to the airport. I mean, to the hotel room.
Okay, ladies.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having me.
Tanya.
Thanks for
It was
having me.
Y'all
great
have a
seeing
good
you.
one.
I'll be back to read again if you need
Okay.
me. I hope you guys
I will.
understood
Thank
me.
you. I'll
Okay.
send it to you, okay, Tanya?
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, guys. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Good
Bye.
night.
Good
You're
night.
welcome. Good night.